Hello everybody, this is MegaTrain. Welcome to my brand new Minecraft series. This is Project Ozone LIte. It is a modded Skyblock world. If you've seen any of my series before, you know I'm a big fan of Skyblock. This is my very first modded series. I was having a lot of fun in vanilla, of course, but part of the reason I haven't done modded before is that a lot of the mod packs are very resource intensive. This one specifically, the LIte, is designed to work good on older computers, like mine. So I have a couple of objectives for this series. One of them is to help you, especially if you're a vanilla player, figure out how to get into modded. I watched Etho, I've watched the Hermit Skies series from a lot of the Hermit Crafters. And it seems like a lot of them, they're showing you how to do stuff, but they still kind of assume that you know how modded works, generally speaking. And so I had to figure out a lot of things kind of via trial and error. So I'm going to be kind of touring you around and helping make sure you understand how things work in a modded series. The second goal for my series is that I'm really going to do it as a true Skyblock. I'm not going to be going to the Nether and getting all sorts of resources there. I may have to go to the end just to kill the dragon once and get an egg to accomplish some of my objectives, but I'm not going to be building out worlds in alternate dimensions like you can actually do in this pack. So let's get started, and let me show you how to actually download and get this world installed. The good news is we don't have to download files and unpack jars and all sorts of stuff. It's pretty easy to do. Let me show you how that is done. So the first thing you'll need to do to get Project Ozone LIte installed is go to twitch.tv and get their desktop app. Once you've done that, let me switch over to it. It looks pretty similar, but this is the desktop app. You'll need to go to the Mods tab. Now, I already have a couple installed, obviously, but if you don't, yours will be grayed out. So if I click on Minecraft here, again, it'll show me what I already have installed, but you'll need to click on Browse All Mod Packs. There are definitely a bunch of good ones here, but if we scroll down to Project Ozone LIte, basically, if you have not yet installed it, it'll show you an install icon. If you have installed it, it'll have a play icon. So obviously click install, and later on you'll just click play. And when you click play, it'll actually launch its own Minecraft launcher with Project Ozone LIte. So pretty straightforward. We'll load this up and get started. Once it finally gets loaded up, we're going to go and make a brand new single-player world. And yours will only have an existing world called PO LIte. The Hermit Craft team is using this for their Hermit Skies series. So if you've been watching that and want to try that world, you're welcome to. We're going to create a brand new world. I'll call it YouTube. And under Options, we're going to choose a Garden of Glass type, which is our Skyblock. And we'll create. The very first thing that we need to do before we do anything else is fix our key bindings. Let's go to the options and into controls. If you look down this list, we've got all of these commands that are being mapped for all these different mods. There's really two that we need to worry about at this point. The third one here, better questing. We've got a conflict between this one and one further down the list. Now the grave, that is your kind of the backwards accent next to the one key under the tilde. And that is conflicting right now with one further down the list called ore excavation. Now ore excavation is basically vein miner. It allows you to mine a whole tree at once or a whole vein of coal ore or something like that. So a very, very useful tool, but we can't have that conflicting with our questing book. So you can change one or the other. I'm actually going to change this one here to the letter V. I don't believe that it actually conflicts in any way with this one here. So our questing book, we'll get into that in 1 second. The other conflict that we have to resolve right away is up here under inventory tweaks. There it is. The letter R, inventory sorting. This will cause you no end of problems, because what we want the letter R to do is show item recipe under the just enough items mod. So there is no way, as far as I know, to unmap this function. Basically what we have to do is give it some random number like numpad 5 that I absolutely know that I'm not going to be using in the middle of a game. So if you leave this mapped, that will cause you no end of trouble. And those are the only two that we're going to be changing at this point. We may use some others a little bit later on. So speaking of the quest book, we actually have 3 books in our inventory here. We have a Better Questing book, Materials and You from Tinker's Construct, and Lexica Botania that we'll be using later on. So we'll set those aside and we'll right-click and look at the Better Questing mod book. This is really our primary guide for figuring out what we're trying to accomplish in this series. If you click on the quests button here, we've got all these groups that are not unlocked yet, so all we can do is click on Welcome to Light. Everything that's gray we can't access yet. Everything that's red we can. And every single one of these is basically asking us to accomplish some task. 99% of them involve crafting something. This is about one of the only 2 exceptions. So all we have to do to accomplish this task is check the box. When we do, it's going to give us some reward. Now this is an and, not an or. So I get to choose 1 loot chest, and if you click this arrow here, you'll see the other sets of rewards that you get. You'll get a diamond, you'll get a torch, and you'll get a sapling. Of course, we need to use that sapling to start getting some wood. So this questing book we'll be coming back to again and again. It'll kind of guide you and help you figure out where we're going from here. Always read the hints in the upper corner to help you figure out how to accomplish this goal. But when I click done, and I'll just press escape to bail out of here, it shows that I have completed this quest. Did I not claim it? All right. Right click again. There we go. Choose a loot chest and claim. There we go. If it shows green, that means that you've actually claimed it. If it shows blue, it means you can claim it, but you haven't yet. So there we go. There's our rewards. Now, one cool trick that you can actually do. I don't need to keep this Better Questing book in my inventory anymore. I don't need to right-click on it. All I need is that shortcut. So the tilde or the grave accent is now going to pop this up. So you'll see me pop into here all the time, probably sometimes accidentally. And we'll figure out where to go from here. So kind of 2 directions we can go. We can go into wood age, so I need to get some wood. I need to get some saplings and some apples. I know how to do that, so pretty easy to do. And early cobble, we'll be doing this one in a few minutes. The hint here, shift, right click, grass or dirt to gain pebbles. We'll show you what that is and how that works. But for now, we're going to plant a tree and wait for it to grow. No. This is modded Minecraft. We can cheat. So all we need to do is twerk a little bit. Use your shift key to crouch and uncrouch. And that is basically the same as bone mealing it. So we can get things to grow pretty quickly, and we can start getting our resources. So one thing we can do here, I'm going to hold my V key down while I mine this leaf, and it's going to vein mine all these leaves. And did I just lose all my saplings? Well, let's vein mine these and see if I did. One sapling. That is pretty lucky. All right, we're going to be a little bit more careful with our next one. We're going to make a crafting table and build out a little bit around here to build a larger platform. So some of this stuff I'm not going to bore you with. So let me build out the platform here so I don't lose any more saplings, and I'll be right back. All right, one thing I do want to show you here, we've got a normal crafting table, but you will almost never see people in modded Minecraft using this crafting table because we can make a crafting station instead. So what's the difference, you ask? I'm glad you asked. One of the major differences is that you can put stuff into this crafting station and walk away, and it stays there. So you can come back to it. You're not going to lose stuff. That's going to be pretty handy. There's one more thing that this is useful for. If I put some items in this chest, for example, when I open the crafting station, it will actually show me the contents of a chest or other container next to the crafting station. So a couple of different ways that they're useful. One thing I'm going to craft at this point, let me show you this trick here. I'm going to use my 1 diamond to build a builder's wand. A builder's wand basically allows me to continue placing similar blocks. So if I hold it, I'm holding shift, of course. If I press it against this, this edge, I can build out my platform very quickly and easily without spending a lot of time placing each individual block. There we go. So let me get some more wood. Hopefully won't lose them like I did before. There we go. One of the things that's actually going to help us there, let me show you this trick, is I can make what's called a crook. Now, there's a few different things this crook is good for. One of the major things is it's going to increase the drop rate on my leaves for both saplings and for apples, and it will also drop one extra thing called silkworms that we'll be using in a bit. But let me go ahead and keep getting some wood, and I'll let you know when we've got our next objective. Okay, a couple things that I've done while off camera. I did go ahead and claim the Wood Age achievement. I got a loot chest. I'm going to save these till the end of the episode here, so I'm racking them up. Some of these will give us items that might be useful in late game. Some of these might be useful early on. Some of them might not be very much use at all. But I did get enough apples. Let me show you a trick, though, that's going to enable us to get a lot more apples. If I use 3 apples and a sapling, I can make an apple sapling. Well, how the heck could I have known that? Well, I watched other people on YouTube, but if I point to the apple and press the letter U, it shows me all the uses of that apple. That letter U and another letter, the letter R, are really going to be the way that we get around this system and figure out what is actually possible. So under the crafting window, I can use the left and right buttons here to show me all the things I can do with apples. And one of them, if I just browse around, oh, look at that. 3 apples and some sort of sapling gives me an apple sapling. There's lots of other interesting things in here. Now, a lot of these, I don't have the material to use yet. But I could do something like make some apple juice. All I would need would be a juicer, and a juicer is just chiseled stone and stone pressure plate. Now, how did I do that? All I did is I just clicked on it. The other thing you can do is press the letter R, and R is for recipe. That shows me the recipe for the juicer. If I want to get back a level, just use the backspace key on your keyboard, and it backs out to the screen that you were just looking at. Well, so I could make an apple juice, but is it worth it? Well, look at your apple. Underneath the description of the apple, it shows me that it gives me 2 hunger and 1.5 saturation. Is that good? I don't know. It's an apple. But if you point to the apple juice, this one gives me 1.5 hunger and 1.5 saturation. So that is no better than apples. I guess it gives me a speed boost, but on Skyblock, I don't know that that's particularly useful. So we're going to keep looking for a better food source, see if we come up with one that might be more useful. Whoa, fruit salad. This gives me 3 hunger and a whole bunch of saturation. I'm not even going to count that all up. If we had a cutting board. Well, what's a cutting board? How do I get it? Click the letter R or just click on it. And it shows me that the recipe for a cutting board is 1 plank, 1 stick, and 1 iron nugget, or 1 iron ingot. So we don't have iron yet, but that's going to come along pretty quickly here. So that is going to be one of our early game sources of food. Once we get some iron, is making fruit salad. There's some other people that enjoy applesauce. Applesauce has some good saturation as well. In that case, you would need a pot, and a pot costs you 4 iron. So pretty similar. Costs you 1 less apple. So you can do the math and figure out which of those you prefer. But the ability to navigate around this interface here using the U for use and the R for recipe, or just clicking on them, really is what's going to help you figure out how modded Minecraft works, how to get around the system. A lot of this stuff is a lot later game. Culinary generator, what the heck is that? We don't have a vat. We don't have an apothecary mortar. And we may or may not craft it later on in the game. So let's plant our apple sapling. One thing that I had to do, I've already done it. When we first started, there was a little floating sparkly thing in the sky. That's to help in the very early game to get some big trees. So you just click on that and it disappears. And once that's out of the way, I can make some apple trees. And apple trees are cool because all you have to do is right click to harvest an apple. And to grow more, just twerk. And you can get a lot of apples pretty quickly. Okay, got a ton of apples. So I'm going to actually cut down this apple tree in a second here. I can always grow a brand new one whenever I need to. But what's next? Let's look at our quest book here. We've already gotten our wood objective. And really, I want to start getting some good building material. And for that, I want to start making cobblestone. So, good old Skyblock, I'd have to have a bucket of water. I'd have to have a bucket of lava. And I would sit there and mine them myself. Well, this is modded Minecraft. We want a cobble generating machine. Well, we can't click on that yet, but I can go into my inventory, and I don't think I've used this yet. Now to the bottom, I can search for Cobblestone Generator, and we have several Cobblestone Generators. Just like we did before, if you point to one of these and click on it, it shows us the recipe for the Cobblestone Generator. So I need 6 cobblestone to start with. I need some glass, I need a water bucket, and I need a lava bucket. So the objectives in the questing book really are going to help lead us there. So to get that cobblestone generator, we need to generate some lava. This lava generator will show you how to make this in a second. To get that, we need to make a sieve and mesh. So a sieve is just made of wood. Now, unfortunately, I can't use the letter R here to click on one of these and show the recipe, so I'd have to go and search for that item. But the trick here is the string mesh. How do I get string? Do I make a spider farm? Well, I certainly could, but the hint in the corner says silkworms come in handy to make all the string I'll need. Well, I've got silkworm. Unfortunately, this is a place where you can't just press the letter U and see exactly how to use it, because that just shows us ways to cook it. But if you've watched any other series, all you need to do is right-click in your leaves, and that will infest the tree. When that happens, these will start turning into infested leaves, which will give us string. So now I've moved mine to the left-hand side. You can see there that we've got a progress bar showing us the infested leaves is now complete, and this next one over here is almost complete. So pretty soon this entire tree, all the leaves are going to be infested. Once you've done that, you do have to use a wooden one of your crooks to harvest it. If I press the letter V for vein mining, that's going to give me string. So you need a bunch of crooks. These crooks will get used up pretty quickly. So just that gives me a stack of string. We're going to get a little bit more string, and we'll show you how to do the next step. All right, that was faster than I anticipated. I got one giant tree and got a whole ton of string. So what's the next step? Let's look up what a sieve, how a sieve is made. So we just need some slabs and some sticks. That's easy enough. Let's get rid of those sticks. Get some slabs. And we'll use more later on. Let's start with just a few. And what's the other half of that? The other half of that is the mesh. So other mesh will come later on, but we'll need string mesh. Now, from here, if I just click the plus, it'll move one set of this string into the crafting grid so that I can make one string mesh. There's another trick that you can do here as well. If I go back to the recipe here, if I shift click this plus, it'll move as many as it can into that window. So that is a ton. That is all my string. I'm not going to use that many. Let me use, let me get like 8 or 9, and we'll save this string for other things later on. There we go. And that gives us our quest. We'll claim that and move that into here. So what is this sieve and what do we do with it? So let me point to the string mesh and press the letter U for use. Well, we can take a string mesh and make it into Flint stiffened mesh, but if you look at this other tab here, the sieve tab, well, what does this do? A string mesh can be used to get nether wart from soul sand. It can be used to get all sorts of seeds from dirt. It can be used to get some resources from dust. It can be used to get other resources from sand and other resources from gravel, including flint. All right, well, that's interesting, but what's really interesting is looking at the next one, Flint stiffened mesh. So if I click it here and then press the letter U for use, what are the uses of Flint stiffened mesh? Well, under the sieve tab, now it starts to get really interesting. If I sieve dust, which we'll show you how to make, I get all sorts of things, including iron ore. As a matter of fact, I can sift sand. I get iron ore and a bunch of other interesting things. I get iron ore at 100% rate. So every single sand I sieve through this, I get an iron ore piece. Same thing with gravel. If I sieve gravel, I get iron ore, I get copper, I get gold, I can even get lapis and coal and lead and all sorts of other interesting things that we'll make use of later. So this is really the goal. We've got to get our string mesh up to Flint stiffened mesh. Once we do that, we can start getting iron ore pieces from either gravel or from sand or from dust. So that's what this is good for, and that's why we need to go this direction. Well, how do we get there? How do we get gravel or sand or dust? Well, the other path that we didn't take here in our questing was the early cobble. Well, how do we get this cobble early on in the game? We shift right-click the grass. Well, how does that work? If we shift right-click, it throws out all these pebbles. Think of it like you're kneeling down and picking up little rocks out of the grass. And basically, these pebbles If I press the letter U to use, about the only thing I can do with them is make them into cobblestone. So I can move them into here, shift click out, and I get some cobble. So the quest asks us to get 1 stack of cobble, and it's actually possible, although a little bit difficult, that I can do everything I need to get a cobblestone generator with exactly 1 stack of cobble. So let me sit here and get some pebbles, and we'll show you how to make that work. Okay, we've got just exactly enough leftover pebbles here to make our full stack of cobblestone. Now that doesn't accomplish the entire objective. It gives me just half of it. The other half is I need to make a furnace. That's easy enough to do. Doot, doot. And now I can claim this reward. All right, so what do I do with cobble? If you use the letter U, the U's again, there's all sorts of things you can craft with it. And across the top, again, there's all sorts of stuff you can do. You can smelt it into stone. You can use crushers and other pulverizers and all sorts of stuff. But if you hit the tab across the top here, you will eventually come to a hammer. So I can use a hammer to smash cobblestone into gravel. And that's exactly what I'm going to do with this. So a hammer, let me just cheat a little bit here. Make some sticks. One trick, by the way. There are other ways to do some of the things you're already familiar with in this modded version. So if I put 2 wood over another, I get 16 sticks rather than having to go through planks. The same thing is true if I want a chest. I can use wood, and that gives me 4 chests all at once. So keep your eye out for that. Watch other people using it and look at the recipes. There's sometimes some nice shortcuts there. All right, so how is a hammer made? A hammer is basically just... Oops. I need to keep... I'm preserving my cobblestone, by the way, because I literally only want to use 1 stack. And get a wooden hammer. I'm going to set aside 10 more cobble here. So I don't accidentally use these. I will need those as cobblestone. So what do we do with this? So we can set this down and smash it, and it turns into gravel. Okay? We can set this down and smash it, and it turns into sand. We can set this down and smash it, and it turns into dust. So this hammer, we can make, stone and iron and diamond hammers, of course. But this is going to be our early game trick. The one other trick that we can use here involves the wand. And this is really going to be handy. So I'm going to start by placing down sort of a row of cobblestone. And then I can use my wand to place a whole bunch at once, all the rest that it's in my inventory, and smash it all. So I'm going to use my vein miner, hold down V, smash this thing all at once, and get my gravel. Okay. So I'm not going to go all the way down to dust as of yet, because the next thing that we need, as we said, is we need to get our flint stiffened mesh. So how do we get flint? Well, there's some interesting ways using mods. So you can actually craft 3 gravel into 1 flint. You can put them in pulverizers and machines, and actually, as we saw, you can sieve gravel into flint. The problem there is, look at the drop chance, 12%. That's pretty bad. So I'm actually going to get 6 gravel the old-fashioned way, just using vanilla mining. So as I'm sure you know, that's only a % chance. So I'm just going to vein mine this over and over, just not with my hammer, but just with my hand, until I get 6 flint. So let me do that, and I'll be right back. All right, we've got our 6 flint. Now, I'm really only doing this because I wanted to challenge myself to literally get a cobblestone generator with only one stack of cobble. Normally, you could just use your pebbles and make 5 or 10 stacks of cobble if you wanted to sit there and right-click the whole time. But I'm going to make one flint stiffened mesh, and we're going to make use of it here. Okay, so we lay down the sieve itself. We put the mesh in the middle. And let's actually claim those objectives while we're here. So flint stiffened mesh is its own objective. We need to save, let me see, we're going to put down a furnace here. We need to smash all the rest of this gravel into sand first. Doot. And my hammer broke. There we go. I'm going to save one sand because part of the recipe for the furnace or the cobblestone generator is 1 glass. So I'll just pop that in there. And with the sand, we're going to craft all this into mesh. Sorry, smash it all into dust. You know what I meant. There we go. So 38 dust. What do we do with all this dust? So again, I'm going to set aside 2 dust for a slightly different purpose. But the magic of this sieve is all I need to do is right-click on it, and it's going to give me cool stuff. So copper ore, iron ore, nether quartz dust. So this iron, if I press the letter U, I've got to use 4 of them to get iron ore chunks. If I use that, all I need to do is smelt that. It's going to give us iron, and we need iron to make our buckets. So if you remember our cobblestone generator, there we go. We need a lava bucket and a water bucket. So we're gonna sieve all the rest of this and get a whole bunch of iron ore pieces and start smelting that down into iron. Okay, I have sieved up all that dust, and I have got some cool stuff here. So some of this we'll be making use of later, but the most important stuff I need right now is iron ore pieces and bone meal. I was lucky enough to get exactly as many bone meal as I'm going to need for the next step. And what is the next step, you're probably asking? That is making a crucible. Melt cobblestone in a crucible. Well, what is a crucible? How is it made? Just look it up here. Crucible, we've got an unfired and a fired crucible. Well, unfired we make through porcelain clay, and porcelain clay is made from clay and bone meal. Well, how do we make clay? Clay is made, well, actually, let me do this a different way. We make clay balls by breaking a clay block. So it doesn't show, setting it down on the ground and breaking it here. So if I show, I've got to look it up this way, clay, and I select that. One of the options across the top is a fluid block transform. So basically, if I put dust into a barrel with water, I will get clay. And that's actually one of the other objectives here that we kind of passed by, barrels and clay. So right-click dust into a water-filled barrel to obtain clay. We recommend using stone barrels if doing anything that requires lava. If you're in a non-raining biome, you can fill a barrel with water with wooden bowls or glass bottles. Well, where do we get water? There is actually some water on this island. There we go. Unfortunately, we have only a single source block. The good news is, this is modded Minecraft. That's all we need. So I can actually pick up water from this source block. And let me go ahead and make a wooden barrel here. I'm just going by memory, but you could have looked that up, of course. And all I need to do is put a bowl of water in there, and I get an entire barrel of water. And let me use the 2 dust I set aside and saved to get clay. So fill my other bowl, more dust, and I've got my clay. Now that doesn't actually accomplish this objective. I've got to get 2 more. But for the purpose of our crucible, it does give us what we need. So if I break these 2, I get 7 clay, and 7 bone meal makes 7 porcelain clay, which can make our crucible. So what do we do with the crucible? We fire it, of course, in the furnace. I need to do something like make some... after this is done and I get it going, I'll make some charcoal. There we go. Well, what is a crucible and how does it work? Basically, if I put it over a heat source, even something silly like a torch, it will allow me to convert cobblestone into lava. So if I just right-click for cobblestone into this, you can see on the left-hand side there, it's giving me a countdown of how much of that is still cobblestone and how much of that is lava. So while that is working, I'm going to go ahead and smelt up all my iron. I'll make some charcoal, and we'll be able to be ready to make our cobblestone generator, and that will finish the episode. Okay, on the left-hand side there, you can see that my liquid lava is up to 600 and something, and my solid cobblestone is down close to 100, so that is almost done cooking. I have cooked up a bit of iron, and what I need that for is a couple of buckets. And it'll certainly come in handy for other things pretty quickly here as well. So I need a bucket of lava. I need a bucket of water. My lava is still cooking. You might be asking, hey, I don't want to use my only water source. And so here's the trick. We use the bowl to pick up a bowl of water, which we can fill the wooden barrel. And then I can pull it out with a bucket. So basically, a single water source here on Project Ozone LIte allows us to make as many buckets of water as we want. And then we can use it for other things. So let me show you the crafting recipe again for the cobblestone generator. So 3 cobblestone on top and bottom. That's why I saved 6. We've got 1 glass and a bucket of lava and a bucket of water. You can see on the bottom of that tip that this accepts any block glass. It kind of flips through all the different varieties that might work, but look at the bottom to see what you actually need. That actually reminds me, let me press the F3H, and I have turned off my advanced tooltips. If I go back into my recipe here, now it basically hides the mod that it's from and some of the meta information that might not be useful, especially in an introductory video. So you can decide whether you want that on or off. There we go. So we've got liquid lava, and we can get that in a bucket. We can claim that quest. Now I should have, if I pull out my 6 remaining cobblestone that I left over and the 1 glass that I smelted up, we can make a cobblestone generator. There we go. Let me show you how this works. We can put this down anywhere, and if I put a chest on top of it, it's basically going to fill this chest with cobblestone 1 block at a time. So there's some upgrades to this we can make. We can do different things with it that we'll show you next time. But right now we're going to claim the very last reward that we've got here. We're going to open these up. If you look on the other tab here, this gives me a quarter heart. I don't know that that's going to be useful to me. But let's go ahead and open up all these reward chests and see what we get. All right, so we've got 2, 4, 6, 7 loot chests. All we need to do is right-click one. And Guardian Charm. That basically protects us from guardians, which is not going to help us a lot in a Skyblock world. Cave Spider Charm probably won't help us much. Some special carrots, glowstone ingots, greater ring of experience. One thing you can do with rings, if you go into your inventory, there's a baubles button here, and you can actually put a ring on. So I'm not quite sure what this does. I think it helps pick up experience around you. You can also save and load your experience that you accumulated. So I right-click, shift right-click, and it basically saves my experience onto that ring. Oops. All right, 2 more. Mana Steel and a Diamond Furnace. That is actually pretty useful in the early game, so we will take use of it. So thank you guys for watching this first episode. I'm going to kind of pick up the pace here on out, just to, now that we, as we start getting used to how the inventory system works and things like that. So we're not going to baby you the whole time, but I just wanted to make sure you guys had a pretty solid foundation of how the interface works, how modded is different than vanilla. And I appreciate you joining me. We will see you next time.